Kia ora, e te whānau. I think I may have said that wrong last time. I think I said kia ora e te koutou, which is wrong. This is a greeting in the Maori language, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that shortly. What this video is about, this is a video from Mark the Demystifier, and it's a mailbag. It's a response to some questions from viewers. Now in future I'm only going to be doing mailbags and responding to questions on my Patreon channel, and if you've not heard of Patreon, and if you want to help me out and help me make more videos and better quality videos, especially better quality videos, then please have a look at my video on Patreon, and that will explain all. But for now I'm going to answer questions from three listeners or three viewers, and depending on how much I speak, this may be in different parts. So it may be maybe a 2 or 3 parter, or maybe a 1 parter. I need to keep these videos short at the moment because the only way I can upload stuff is to keep them quite short. So we will begin and we'll see where we get to. But this is part 1. So for 3 questions, I'll list the questions now just to whet your appetites. So question from Joe is, why do people on internet game forums get so nasty? Why are they so nasty? Which is an interesting one. They're all interesting questions. Question from Paul. Now Paul knows more than me about this subject. Paul is a very clever man, and he has suggested I talk about resistance, not the French resistance, but psychological resistance. Now Paul knows, he doesn't need to hear from me about this, but Paul is a clever man and he knows that it's a really, really interesting subject. So I'm going to talk about resistance. And Sally has asked me to talk a little bit about Maori culture. I've recently moved to New Zealand, and although it's all very new to me, I am loving it. I'm soaking this stuff up. It feeds my soul. So and what she wanted to know was my experience of it. What I've learned, what I've come across, my understanding, which may not be correct, but I'm very happy to share that. And sometimes I'm learning the language. Sometimes I get that wrong, so forgive me. So, okay, why, Joe, do people on internet forums get nasty? This is a kind of game forum, and one of the things I think you already commented on in your message was a kind of, I don't think you used the word displacement, but displacement is a kind of Freudian term that I would use in this case. So in terms of a game, when people lose, they vent that frustration in all kinds of different directions. So displacement is where a form of energy or an emotion or an expression or an intention is blocked, and the energy kind of has to go somewhere. It doesn't go where it wants to go. So maybe that energy that energy was bound up in winning. So you then lose, and where does that energy go? I know John Bowlby, who's the kind of the first person to write about attachment theory, talks about this. He gives some very good examples from the natural world of displacement. One of the things he talks about is, and I've seen this, you probably all relate to this, it's quite comical. Sometimes, I don't know if you have a garden and you feed the birds, and there'll be a little sparrow in the garden that goes to take off, but for some reason he can't take off. The wind's not right, the moment's not right, he's not gone in the right direction, he's not got the space for takeoff. So he tries to take off. You can see he's about to do that, and it doesn't work, and he stops abruptly. So, and what you'll then notice he'll do is he'll do something. He'll make some physical activity, like kind of flutter his wings, as if he's kind of airing his feathers and stuff like that. So it's displacement is where you're pissed off with your boss and you kick your cat. And I'm not advocating animal cruelty here. You never kick cats. Bosses, that's another story. So there's an element of displacement, which is what you picked up on, I think, Joe. And the other thing I think is the kind of internet phenomenon is very similar, I think, to driving. When people are in their cars and when people are online, they are more aggressive and they are less inhibited than they would be if you met them face to face. So for example, in a busy high street, people cut each other up left, right and centre, but very seldom do people kind of shout at each other or get in altercations about that. But if somebody cuts you up in a car, you know, it can be a whole different story, and the whole road rage thing kicks in and people scream and shout. What I think a lot of this is about is face to face. We have inbuilt instinctual mechanisms to make nice and make peace and fit in with the tribe and be polite and all those kinds of things. When we have a sense of isolation, whether that's real or imagined, like being in the tin box of a car or being in the comfort of your own bedroom, front room, wherever it may be, online gaming, you have the illusion of separation. So that moderating factor does not kick in those moments. And this all probably goes back, I love evolutionary biology, although I can't say it, is a really interesting subject. It's very controversial. But one of the things that I like about evolutionary biology is there's a lot of emphasis on the need to stay within the tribe in order to survive. So if you're within the safety of the tribe, then you're going to be protected from other tribes, you're going to be protected from the elements and starvation, and you're going to be protected from wild animals to a certain extent. If you become alienated from the tribe, then you're vulnerable and you will probably die. So inbuilt within us is a need to bond, to make nice, to conform to the norms of society. It doesn't always work because, you know, people will go against those norms and bonds. But there's a strong drive within us, and I think that kicks in, that's kind of stimulated when we're in physical proximity to other people, and we can speak to them, and we can interact in a real way. Online, that doesn't happen. So it's kind of interesting implications to that, really, because we're operating more and more online. Does that mean that we're going to be more aggressive, more callous people? Possibly so. I mean, I think one of the things that's happening at the moment in the world, which is really worrying, is people are getting, you know, extremely polarised. You know, there's very little middle ground at the moment, and I think there's lots of reasons for that. But I think, you know, internet communication has that danger that we actually we're more aggressive, and our opinion and fighting for our own opinion, our own kind of beliefs, becomes more important than community. So we're not as worried about offending people, we're not worried about being thrown out of the tribe. And that mechanism for avoiding being thrown out of the tribe is very important. Sometimes it kind of backfires, and sometimes, you know, if you're in 1930s Germany and the tribe are all persecuting Jews, then your desire to you know, act like everybody else, you know, it can be a terrible thing. But in lots of cases, in other situations, it's a very good thing. So that is the answer to, or not necessarily the answer, they're my thoughts on this subject. I'm not going to pretend that I know the answers to this stuff. So I'm going to end there and keep this video short, and then I'm going to do a part 2. We're going to talk about Paul's question about resistance. Catch you later. Excuse my wandering thumbs. Rangimarie.